Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Didn't hear a word of what you're saying there, Danny.
Okay. Was he jamming to VH, man?
We're going to ask the same question again?
No, I know you're a huge fan of the Van Halen. It is the program on Sports Radio,
song.
810 WHB. Danny Clinkscale's with us for a little Danny Unleashed.
Yeah.
He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing, proud sponsor of Danny Unleashed and DannyClinkscale.com. Commercial, residential roofing with a project manager on every job site. Easton Roofing, 4 straight years voted Best of Houses, Angie's List Super Service Award winner. You check out their incredible reviews on Google right now. When the storms blow in, they offer offer free storm damage inspections to make sure you save money in the future and not have erroneous insurance claims on your record. They're even happy to do repairs. They're customer service focused with Easton Roofing. There's no payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. Credit cards, PayPal, yep, they're accepted. 913-257-5426 online at eastonroofing.com. Easton Roofing, integrity matters. Danny, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Just played in a golf tournament today and did a little
How'd you
hosting.
do, Danny?
I didn't play very well, but the other guys were good, and we had a good time. So it was a.
Did you have a bunch of ringers?
Well, the person who invited me is from Waterfront Properties. Waterfront. It's in a financial company.
Well, that's nice of you to really care enough to give the company a plug like
Well,
that.
it's Waterfront. I'm not sure what the second word is,
Okay.
but it's Waterfront. Anyway, very nice guy and a heck of a golfer. And the other two gentlemen were pretty good, too, and I chipped in very little. Positive encouragement, made the last birdie. That was about it. But it was a great event for the Patriot Foundation, and they had a 1-hour presentation before it. Saluted World War II and Korean War veterans. About 15 of whom were there. You know, we're talking about people who are at Guadalcanal and stuff like that. And General Meyer from K-State is right there right now in the post party and saluting Gold Star wives, and a really tremendous event put on in brilliant fashion at Lionsgate, and really much praise to the Patriot Foundation.
Cool.
And you can look it up online and help out veterans. They do a lot of work for PTSD and getting people into homes and jobs and things like that. So it was a pleasure to play in it and a pleasure to support that foundation.
It is the familiar voice of Danny Clinkscale. And Danny, the Chiefs hang 40 on the board while losing Tyreek Hill and having their quarterback limp around. And so we knew if we could find anybody to have a sour attitude about this game, it would be you. So what are we missing?
I don't think you missed much. I think the Chiefs were excellent. I will say this, if you want to...
Here we go.
If you want to get me a little unleashed... The game was very similar to watching the Chiefs last year, except when they had all hands on deck on offense early, I think the Chiefs looked even more unstoppable.
Right.
I'll say that. And even when Tyreek Hill went out, they still looked pretty damn good. But I didn't think the defense looked any different, basically, at all than last year.
Really? You didn't think they'd tackle better?
Maybe a little more assignment sound, maybe a little bit better tackling. Yes, I will say that, but I didn't think the results were that much better. And
I'll give you that.
230 yards of offense in the first half with 2 backup tackles and a 6th-round rookie quarterback is not going to fill me. And that's when the game was competitive. So I'm not going to give him the merit.
It's actually only one backup tackle with the other one switching sides. The starters switch sides.
Right. So you're down one tackle, other guy who's a right tackle is playing left tackle, whatever. Anyway, so that I didn't see, and my overall impression is boffo, to use an old 1930s cinematic phrase for good big box.
It'll certainly play here in 2019
for big box office, boffo. So But I do sense, and
so can you explain that, just so anyone who's like, so you're saying overall you are very positive?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, almost 100% bullish, because I don't even think the defense has. If the defense played like that every week, they'd beat most people. Now, that kind of defensive effort is what you're worried about at those points in time, or when it comes time for the big games, and whether they're going to get outscored in those games. But there's a long way down the road to that. But I do feel the need to
for speed
be me a little bit, because I sense, because there's so much excitement for the team, that we are getting too much media fanboy in this city. The Star gave the defense 2 Bs. B against the run, B against the pass, B overall rating. Are you kidding me? I mean, are you kidding me?
I'm fine with the B against the run, although I do think I appreciate the 81 yards that they allowed, and I appreciate that they're tackling better, but I think part of the 81 was because they got them down by so much and they had to go to the air.
And they were running, Fournette was looking pretty, if he had to get his dose all day long, I think he would have had a good day. So I think that's all. I'm not concerned about it, because nobody. But this is my profession. This is what I do, and just because the Chiefs are the meal ticket right now, and everybody loves them, and they should, and this is an exciting season, that doesn't mean you stop doing your job, which is to judge things the way that they appear in front of you, not the way you would like them to be. Now, if you're going to tell me you're grading on a curve for the defense, fine, I'll listen to you.
I won't argue with you. I don't think the coverage deserved to be. I don't think the pass rush deserved to be.
And that was probably the biggest thing that was a surprise to me.
But I'll say this, and this is where, if there is a reason, and I don't know, did somebody have their name next to that, or was it like a consensus?
I think
they polled everybody who covers the team.
I think that's that they've changed up their. I don't know what happened to Brooke Pryor. Where'd she go? She go someplace
Pittsburgh.
Good. Well, good for her. So they're transitioning. So I don't know if there was a name attached to it.
Okay.
I can't imagine that Sam McDowell gave anybody a B. I have the utmost respect for Sam, but he and I are probably kindred spirits in some ways.
Yes.
So anyway,
I
don't know. I don't know who actually did that.
Can we agree that Jacksonville, and maybe this won't be the same with Nick Foles, but Jacksonville's a team that can make you look bad, right? Because they're kind of the one. Is there anybody else who's just literally you're like, okay, if Marty Schottenheimer came in and looked at your playbook, would he just pick right up where he left off? The one team you'd say that is the Jaguars, right? Pound the rock, play action, and go long.
Right, but the Chiefs end up somewhat mitigating that because of the way they play offense.
Right, I agree. And so my point to that is twofold. One, Jacksonville's a tough team to measure your defense against because they play differently, which is a reason to be concerned, right? Because the other teams are going to go at the part that wasn't good, your pass defense.
Right.
So I am concerned with that. But I also know that, like last year, they almost lost to the Ravens and did lose to the Seahawks because those teams can really run the ball. And I think when you allow a team to run the ball, then their pass gets really dangerous as well. And I felt like all of last year, enough attention was not paid to how bad their run defense was. Because when you blow a coverage in the end zone against the Chargers for a wide open touchdown or a 2 or whatever it was, that trumps everything. And I think reality is you've got to be able to stop running backs. You've certainly got to be able to stop backup running backs from running all over you. And when you can run the ball, then everything else works. I'm a big believer, you throw to win and you run when you're winning.
Right.
And I think Jacksonville can make you look good because they try to run to win. And that's flawed. They're running, and what they're actually trying to do is hope their defense will get a score for them.
Right.
And then they can keep pounding away with the rock. So I think this Raider game is a good test for the defense because I think there's quietly some personnel, but not what you thought it was going to be with Antonio Brown. Had there been a full force Antonio Brown, you'd be a little bit nervous. Antonio Brown, Terrell Williams, I think the Waller kid's for real at tight end. Jacobs, I think, is for real at running back. They signed the Brown, the tackle from New England, who I think is ideal at a right tackle spot. The other kid's a first-round pick, a top 10 or 12 first-round pick from last year in his second year. Eric Fisher took a big step forward in his second or third year. I think you could see that out of this kid happen there. Rodney Hudson's a veteran center. Their guards leave something to be desired. But there's good O-line. Derek Carr's been around the block a couple of times now. I think this is an offense that can do it to you. Like, I think Denver might have a little defense still. They just blow on offense, and they have no concept of game management with their coach. So I think the Raiders are going to be a pretty good test for the defense. I think we'll know a lot more after we see them play the Raiders.
Well, I also think that the Raiders, even if they've dreamed it up in their own mind right now because they either played well or played a crummy opponent and things went well, feel a bit purged with the Antonio Brown situation. Maybe just in dreamland that they're better off without him, but I think the team feels like, well, he was the whole show here. We've got a football team. And until somebody kicks him in the teeth, they're probably going to feel pretty good about themselves, and it's up to the Chiefs to kick him in the teeth. And it's really up to the offense every game, in my mind, to do what they do, which is to go out and play from the front and force the other teams out of what they do. And I think the Chiefs have every capability of doing that week in and week out. Now, the way to beat the Chiefs, in my mind, is to actually keep with them and maybe just, if you're going score for score, you're the one who's a little bit ahead, so you can dictate a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's all fine to be, that the Chiefs are playing tennis, which is what the game reminded me of, and many Chiefs games remind me of last year.
Basketball is what I would say.
But I mean tennis because who's going to break serve? Everybody's scoring every time.
Right.
So, but if you're scoring to pull within 7, or you're scoring to pull within 3, but the Chiefs are going to get the ball back and you're still behind, that's bad business, no matter what. So, I guess my biggest takeaway, if you want anything negative out of the first game, is that the pressure's still on the offense. The offense still has to percolate at a high level, or the Chiefs are, to me, are still in trouble in any game. And I mean, they have to. They're on the spot. For instance, there was a point in the second quarter where they score, and I'm like, hey, if you want to keep control of this game right now, you got to score on this drive, and to constantly be putting your offense, which is fully capable of handling the job, but to have to do that all the time, I mean, I think it does put pressure on them, And then you make a mistake, and because the other team can be energized by merely stopping the Chiefs because they're such a juggernaut. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Chiefs didn't punt the other day, did they?
No.
I mean,
no.
I didn't get to see the last part, so I didn't know if they punted or not. Which is another discussion point about, thank goodness he took a pay cut, because I wouldn't be paying Dustin Colquitt a lot of money if he's going to punt 9 times this year. I mean, a punt every other game. Let Curtis go out there and get his big leg warmed up for 1 or 2 punts.
There was a wager that we still have to settle that Jed Marshall says I can't throw an NFL football 10 yards.
Wow.
It was 20 yards.
Okay.
Oh, I think that's a bad bet, Jed. You don't know how short 20 yards is.
Have you seen Soren athletically?
I have. But 20 yards isn't very far to throw a football, I'll say that. I mean, it doesn't have to look good.
What do you think Curtis can punt?
I imagine that Curtis, at one point in time, he strikes me as someone who
I'm talking about distance in the air, not some end-over-end.
No, I'm
roll.
I'm not talking about
bouncing
now.
roll.
Now I don't think he could punt the ball very far, but he does strike me as somebody who once had some punting chops.
Sure, yeah.
Well, he's big, tall.
Right, exactly. Like Andy Reid in the punt, pass, and kick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll say this. I agree that the pressure is on the offense, but I don't think they mind it. Like, I think they're so good that that's okay. Like, are they going to get caught? Sure. Are they, somebody, what did I hear? Gary Lezak today, stunning breakdown. Love you, Gary. Gary said the Chiefs are 80% to be in the Super Bowl.
It's absurd. I mean, that I don't care. Nobody's 80%. The Patriots aren't 80%.
Well, you make that statement, and then what you do is you run from it with like, well, I didn't know so-and-so was going to get hurt, right? Well, that's why you don't say they're 80%.
Well, also, a completely healthy Chiefs team is not 80%.
They're, I think, 4-1 to get to the Super Bowl. And that means they're giving you 25% that they're going to get there, and they're building in a house advantage, so they think it's really more like 20. All right?
Right.
So, or 15%. Just because there's so many things that have to happen to go wrong. So, listen, can they have a day where they have a couple of turnovers, helmet on the ball comes loose, and they're chasing points? Yeah. I mean, I think back to the 94 49ers, which were a really good team and won the Super Bowl and had a really talented roster. They went out and loaded up and actually ended up getting in trouble because they were breaking the salary cap to put that team together. And a Hall of Fame quarterback, they still, I don't think, were the best team. They got there because the Cowboys turned the ball over twice to start the NFC Championship game. And they still couldn't end it until the last 7 minutes of the game. And getting spotted like a, 21?
21-0.
21-0.
Right out of the chute.
They scored. Cowboys fumbled. They made it 14-0. Cowboys fumbled again. They made it 21-0. Yeah. And they still couldn't shake the Cowboys because the Cowboys were better, even though the game was being played in San Francisco and they were the 1 seed. And so can that game happen? Sure, it can happen to anybody. But I think they're going to go up and down the field. And I think the one thing we saw out of Mahomes, particularly if he's healthy, right, and let that leg injury be a concern for you on how it could not happen because they were really trying to get the ball out quick once he got hurt. But given the full complement of their offense and a healthy Patrick Mahomes, they're not – they've gone an NFL record, 22 games? With 25 or more?
26 or more.
And I think that, what are they, 12 or 13, 30 or more, or something like that?
Yeah. And the next best streak is 18. The third best streak is 14. They've gone more than 50% over the third longest streak in the NFL history of consecutive games.
Well, I said it last week on this
plus.
segment that I thought that any game where they didn't turn the ball over 3 times or more and they didn't score 30 points, I'm going to be astounded. Astounded.
Yeah.
You know, the only other scenario is, 6 field goals. But they're good at scoring when they get down close, and they score from far away. That's the other part. So
why?
I mean, why do they score from? Well,
and down close.
And Andy Reid is a big part of it.
And what else?
Weapons all over the place, and Patrick Mahomes.
15.
Right.
15.
Sure. What do you think? I think he's a Trump?
I just think it needs to be mentioned.
He's almost.
I actually think he might be mildly underrated. Which is hard to think of.
I don't necessarily
consider you have to have a security detail go with the man.
He's certainly not. He's certainly not
Chiefs Kingdom.
He's certainly not underexposed. But as far as his play is concerned, I think people already have come to take him for granted.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes.
I don't think there's much doubt about it. He makes throws that other people can't make. The plays that are supposed to be little plays for other teams that gain 6 or 8 yards, gain 12 or 14 for the Chiefs because he gets the ball there faster, on time, as they're running in the right direction, not having to stop, turn back, etc.
Great post earlier tweeted by a colleague of ours, Scott Katchmar, on Twitter. Jed noticed it was when allowing 26 points or more, Patrick Mahomes is 5-5 as a quarterback, and looked at back to 2008. I think the Browns were 5-75. So I thought I'd look a little deeper.
The Seahawks were
5-50 something.
Yeah.
And the Bills were 5-65 or something.
That's
like
how far back that he had to go to find 5 wins.
Right.
For all these teams.
I know.
Yeah. And here's what's amazing: Mahomes 5-5. This is also not just Mahomes but Reid. They have in that same stretch, the Chiefs are 12-55 going back to 2008. 5 of the wins are Mahomes. The other 7 are also Andy Reid. From 13 to 17, they are 7-15. They were in that stretch. 07 to 12, 08 to 12, 0-35. If you go back another year, 0-39. They lost 41 straight games when allowing 26 points or more, and they're 5-5 under Mahomes.
And
that's not getting back to. Let's be clear. That's not. That was the Marty era. No. It's 08.
Yeah, that's the second
this
year of Herm.
And it's a great stat, but with each advancing year, scoring points has become easier in the National Football League. Now, it's not as easy as the Chiefs make it look.
But 0-39. You remember the games when the Chiefs had the ball at their own 30, we're in the other end zone going,
24.
No chance.
Under Alex Smith.
There's no way they're getting here.
Even under Alex Smith and with Andy Reid, 24 was big trouble.
Yeah.
That you were going to win.
But he's 7-15. Reid was 7-15 with Smith.
Yeah.
Right? Which is
in those scenarios. which
and
shows how
Andy.
much Andy Reid means.
Right.
Because the Patriots are what in that time?
I think they had a 438 winning percentage.
The Chiefs are 500 under Mahomes. The Patriots are 438.
And the second best team was...
So that's Brady and Belichick.
Yeah. And the second best team was 338. And only six...
That was the Saints.
Yeah, only 6 teams had a better than 250 win percentage in that stretch.
Well, the Patriots do have...
Which is an incredible offensive statistic that means, number one, you get opportunities to have to do that.
Yeah.
But when you do, you can. When you got to score, you can.
Well, the Patriots also... That's a good stat for them. It's not bad.
No, it's a great stat for them.
But they will throw an occasional, we scored 13 against Miami in there. And the Chiefs just don't seem capable of doing that right now.
Yeah.
Period.
No, I agree.
Period.
I agree. All right, I want to take a break. I want to talk about Antonio Brown to the Patriots and Tom Brady taking a big smiley photo with Antonio Brown. Get to the colleges as well. Danny Clinkskill's in. It's Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing. Project manager on every site, commercial and residential roofing, and they're happy to do repairs. Other roofing companies don't want to mess with it. Can't be bothered. They're happy to take a look at your roof and see if all you need is a repair. They're happy just to repair it. They're not going to rip off a perfectly good roof and charge you a ton of money just to do it. At Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is Where Integrity Matters. Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
All right, the Jazz into the hour answer. Who did the Patriots get the last time they traded with the Jets? They just worked a deal for a 2021 sixth-round pick for Demaryius Thomas. So they got a pick this time. Who'd they get the last time?
Curtis Martin?
Curtis Martin?
Going from just any trade between the two of them.
From the Jets to the Pats, yeah. Who did the Patriots get the last time they made a trade with the Jets?
So Martin went the other way.
They got Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick.
Oh, yeah.
2000. NFL on ESPN, I think, tweeted this out last night or this morning. I think Jed noticed that. Bill Belichick. Good trade.
Didn't they have to give a second rounder or something?
They might even have to give
picks.
a first
I
or
think it was
something.
3 picks.
Yeah, it was quite a bit. Because back then I remember everyone's like, "Are you kidding me?" For the guy who sucked in Cleveland, like it was not widely loved. You would know from back in Boston,
Right.
It wasn't completely loved.
No, although he didn't suck in Cleveland. I mean, they were average.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
No, he made one playoff.
Just real quick, want to mention I played in another golf tournament on Monday with an equally admirable charitable side, which was Welcome House, and that's a group and a home and an organization that helps men with substance abuse problems and helps them get back into the workforce and gives them, at a minimal price, a place to live, a place to get restarted.
What's the name of it again?
Welcome House.
Very cool.
So
Very cool.
Anyway, another great organization that deserves
Playing a lot of golf, Danny. I'm hearing that.
Haven't
all for good causes,
haven't
though.
Played that much until these two tournaments, and it showed. Believe me.
It is Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing, commercial and residential. It's Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Look them up online at eastonroofing.com. Tom Brady and that big cheesy photo of Antonio Brown looking like he's over at Tom's house. I could get to know you.
I guess this is just part of the way that you try to work a football team. This is pretty horrendous timing for having a pumpkin eating grin, jack-o'-lantern grin.
Well, even before the news that came out and the alleged email that he sent to this woman who was alleging that he raped her, even before that came out, I was like, really? Like, the guy is like nationally being shown being an ass.
Right.
And you're going to be like, yeah, here we are, me and him, we're boys. Like, not exactly they're not going to take any of his crap in New England that I kind of thought we were going to see.
I don't know. I'm trying to, translate it to another situation. Just say.
Like what? I got none.
Say Antonio Brown came to the Chiefs.
I thought you meant like a past one that had happened.
Couldn't you see that? Couldn't you see Patrick Mahomes taking a picture with him, a big smile on his face, and welcome Antonio? I can. I mean, that's kind of just what you do, I think. Not that we have to like it, and especially because Antonio Brown's behavior, and apparently now allegedly more behavior that's more than just antics, could come out. Yeah, it's bad timing and everything to us, but Tom Brady's trying to win football games. I mean, unfortunately, that's a lot of times what it boils down to. And if this is going to be part of him being part of the Patriot way, whatever. I don't have to like it, but I understand it because I can see Patrick Mahomes doing the same thing, really.
This is a civil suit. It is not a criminal lawsuit.
Yes.
So he will not be going to jail over this, but he could lose a lot of money over it.
And he doesn't have as much as he would.
No, he didn't. So understand that, but do you think he finishes the year playing for the New England Patriots?
I do. I was talking about this with Stan on a podcast that we do on Mondays, and I think that the Patriots are going for it this year. Antonio Brown wants to get paid for the season. He just blew a considerable amount of money. I think there's part of what he did in Oakland, I think, was a bit orchestrated once he went there and saw what a kind of spit show it was there. He's like, really? Not that he's not part of, the mess, but I think he looked around and said, we're not going to win anything here. And then he started acting up, and then Mayock is fining him. And
so I think that's way too much credit.
So, well,
I think he's just a
Well, I agree with that too, but it has been,
DIP. By the way,
it has been reported in a couple of
although the other way works too,
by a couple of people, including Chris Mortensen, and whatever you think about that. And I can
that
see
what
that he was trying to orchestrate his, that a big part of this was to.
I think he got. I absolutely believe the Patriots tampered. I think an offer came in right after he made the apology out front. The caustic apology he made on Friday. I think the Patriots reached out to Drew Rosenhaus and said, "Listen, if you can get him out of there, we're here."
Right.
I absolutely think that happened, and I think the offer was on the table and agreed to with Drew Rosenhaus at the exact moment, at like 3 or 4 in the morning, when Antonio Brown tweets out after putting out this video where he's apparently secretly recorded John Gruden, and John Gruden has responded with, "I think it's great," and then he says, "Release me, Raiders." At that moment, the deal was done.
I can't disagree that's incredibly likely.
I don't think it's like, I'm going to go here and create problems and get my way to New England.
No, I don't think I don't think he had that in his mind when he went there. I think when he went there, he thought, "Hey, this is a new opportunity." Then he got there, and I think he went, "Oh."
Did you see what helmet he was wearing at practice today?
Was it his old helmet?
It was a shot that's not allowed.
Maybe they're just going to let him wear
his old helmet
at practice.
But he signed an endorsement deal. This is how stupid, what's the one with the Zenith? How stupid they are. They signed him to an endorsement deal. Oh, now he's going to be with Zenith. And then he goes on the practice field and doesn't wear it.
Well, golfers do stuff like that a lot. So,
Boy, LeBron's never been wearing Adidas.
Right. I don't know if it's that, they'll put tape over the logo and stuff like that. Tiger Woods has been known to use a different putter than he's getting paid for and stuff like that. So I guess there's ways around it, but there's also ways you can just totally say, well, whatever, come and get my money. I don't know. So I do think he's going to make it through the year. Would I be surprised if, 3 weeks from now he does something that's so stupid that, goes with phone video from the Patriots locker room? I mean, that'll get him right out of town, So maybe he's dumb enough to do that. I do think the guy's a good receiver, and I do think I think he's competitive, and I do think he wants to win. But I do think he cares about himself more. There's certainly.
Oh, I think he cares about himself first and foremost.
I agree with that, but that's not even that's not unusual among wide receivers.
Not unheard of. Yeah,
I mean it's not unique.
Let's take a break. I want to come back. I want to talk about the K-State Wildcats, the Missouri Tigers, and the Kansas Jayhawks
perfect.
in that order because I think that's the relevancy right now. Is that fair?
I think the most interesting story is still Kansas. Actually,
oh, really?
Yeah, because K-State's just been great, so there's no issues right now.
You had those expectations? I know they haven't played a high. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back.
All right.
We'll get to the bottom of it. Which one? Let's put it that way. Which one of the three schools is the most compelling story? I'll leave it to you that way. We'll do that with Danny Klingsfield next. He's brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Happy to do repairs. They're customer service focused. With Easton Roofing, no payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. They accept credit cards and PayPal. 913-257-5426 and online at eastonroofing.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker of Easton Roofing. And Joe, oftentimes people will wait to replace their roof until there is a weather event. What should they know about that?
Well, Danny, the important thing to remember is if you're going to turn in a claim to your insurance company, you want to make sure that you actually have damage on your home. If you turn in a claim to your insurance company and they send an insurance adjuster out, it's going to be a claim whether they give you $1 or $10,000. So it's important to make sure that you actually have damage on your home before you turn that claim in. And all you have to do is give us a call. We'll come out, take a look, and make sure there's real damage, and we'll tell you if there's not. Maybe it's just a small repair and it's not worth a claim. So it's always smart to get somebody you trust to make sure there's damage before you turn in a claim.
Quality advice and guidance from Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
Danny Klingsfield from DannyKlingsfield.com.
And the Reasonably Irreverent podcast.
We're proud to have him here. We call it Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing. Go to eastonroofing.com for all your roof gutter repairs or new commercial and residential. It's Easton Roofing at eastonroofing.com. Coming up in our next hour, you will hear our conversation with Patrick Mahomes in its entirety. So stay tuned for that. We gave you a little taste of him talking about playing hurt. We'll get into some hard-hitting issues like Gardner Minshew's mustache. Yeah.
Our fine sponsor, Easton Roofing, their president, Joe Spiker, always likes when I toss in a Patty Icicles reference because that's the Easton Roofing guy's nickname for Pat.
Yeah. I'll take it. It works. All right, so which one of the colleges is the biggest story?
I think
you're going to put them. Who's going above the fold if you're an old-time newspaper guy?
Well, I think the most news so far has been made by the Kansas Jayhawks because they lost a spectacularly unacceptable game.
And that's stunning?
No, it's not stunning, but it's a new coach. It's Les Miles.
Is it even surprising?
No, it's not surprising either, but if you're going to get change, and Les Miles is going to bring about at least a little bit of change, they pulled one out of the fire in the first week. Here in the second week, they get a team that's, maybe not even as good as Indiana State, and they lose. So until the news for the other two teams, I think, to be made is still to come. Now, Missouri did make news by losing to Wyoming. And the only thing about Kansas State that doesn't make, to me, them the most compelling is because they took care of business in a very impressive way, but the business was easy business. Now, was it supposed to be as easy as they made it look? No.
Well, but that's
so they've clearly played the best football.
All right, well, that's kind of my point. Mizzou's kind of doing what Mizzou does. They're a pretty good program, and people get excited that they're going to be really good, and then they kind of disappoint. That's the Wyoming game. Then they bounce back, show you what they can do. And the second game against an inferior opponent, that's kind of Mizzou being Mizzou. Kansas, I get what you're saying about Les Miles, but we all know that they've got the scholarship deficiency. And you know that there's not enough talent there. There's not enough people wearing a Kansas uniform to go out and really compete. So, and they lose to a club like this all the time.
Right, but I guess my only point is that if a coach is going to make a difference, then he should take maybe even equal talent Say you want to even say that they have equal talent with Coastal Carolina. I'll listen to that. Well, at home, if you're a head coach who's supposed to be,
I'm not trying to excuse the loss. The loss sucks.
Right.
And I'm with you. And who knows? If they play 10 times, maybe KU wins 9. Didn't look like it.
Didn't look like it. Although the first touchdown run was I'm like, well, they're going to run for like 300 against this team, and this is going to be, that was end of game.
A 30 to, I was thinking 30 to 20 win where they grind with the run. I'm not trying to say that, it's a good loss or it's an acceptable loss, but it's not unexpected. I mean, their over-under is 3 for a reason.
Right, and if they're going to get to 3, they may have just booted it.
Oh, they may have, but I think you say the math of it is you should win at least one of the first 2 and be a coin flip in the other one. I think they both ended up being coin flips, so they went 1-1. Everybody kind of steals one in the conference, and West Virginia is not very good. There's plenty of first-year coaches in the league, 3 other first-year coaches
and they get
in
West
the league.
Virginia at home.
3 other first-year coaches in the league, and so it comes down to can they pull the upset like they did against TCU last year. So I don't know. I just feel like for me, maybe I wasn't as bullish as I should have been on Chris Kleiman because I think the guy has proven sound methods to coach a football team. And I really think whether or not Chris Kleiman's going to succeed, the answer comes in 2021 because these are still largely Bill Snyder kids because he's not recruiting any 3-and-outs, true freshmen, as far as correct me if I'm wrong. Or
right, and maybe this is part of your point. Because by all indications, Bill Snyder wasn't recruiting especially effectively in the last years. So Chris Kleiman has taken those players who actually, however, do come from a culture where they expect good things to happen.
Right.
And he has played spotless football with them.
But the Wyoming coach, Bull, who was there before.
Craig Bull,
he had that same expectation. He hadn't done squat at Wyoming.
They've been okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Is that what K-State hired? Was a guy to be okay? No, if Chris Kleiman has the same record at K-State, look up the Wyoming coach, would you, Curtis? Mm-hmm. If he has the same record at K-State, the same kind of years, he won't still be there. When Curtis reads off these years, Chris Kleiman is not still employed at Kansas State. The way, what's his name?
Craig Bull.
Craig Bull.
He won his Wyoming
year by
records: 4-8, 2-10, 8-6, 8-5, 6-6, then 2-0 this year.
Do you think it's 6-6? By the
30
way,
and 35.
Last
overall.
week was not pretty against a lesser opponent, but I'm fine with they had a letdown and still found a way to win after having a big win against Mizzou. Do you think that, is that maybe Kleiman still got his job because he's working for the AD who hired him? But is the fan base running around celebrating Chris Kleiman the way we are right now?
No, but he took over a program in a bad spot, and he built him up to, 2 back-to-back bowl seasons? And
with
this would
a
be 3 in a row?
first-round NFL quarterback.
Yeah, back-to-back bowls in 16 and 17.
Whom he recruited.
Right.
But there's a little bit, as we know, the quarterbacks kind of just blossom under your nose sometimes.
Right, that's true.
And so
I don't think I think he'd have his job if he had that resume because we have to kind of eliminate the first 2 years because he took over a dreadful football team.
Why?
So.
We're not eliminating the second game of Les Miles' tenure.
I think that a coach who's going to make a difference should win that game. So that's why I think it's news.
So if a coach is going to make a difference at Wyoming, he shouldn't be futzing around, for 2 years before he gets traction, should he?
And they were 5-17 the year before.
I'm just saying, to me, my point is this. If you look at everything with the same optics, but I think we don't. We look at him with Les Miles is a championship guy. He's won a championship, so he's got to get it done right now.
No, I don't think of it that way. What I'm saying is just don't let that happen. Win the first 2 games and then get your ass kicked the rest of the season.
Listen, I do think he's living up to he does not seem to get the quarterback position and take a field goal and get out with an ugly 13-12 win against Coastal Carolina. Agreed. Bad moves by Les Miles. I don't get this commitment to Carter Stanley, which speaks to how bad the other kid must be.
I know, and that's a mark against him.
But he didn't have a full offseason, so I want to react, but I'm like, oh, God, he hadn't even been there a year. A calendar year, the man hadn't been there. How much can I really judge the guy?
Right, I'm not judging him long term.
Same true of Kleiman,
it's difficult to You know, you just don't want to get off to the. I think every one of the coaches since Mangino has lost a game like that in their first year, so it just kind of sets a tone. That's all. And you're trying to build up a little excitement on campus, get people out there, and then it's like, oh, geez, whatever. You know, like I said, win those 2 games somehow, build a little momentum, be competitive in the Big 12 for a few games, even if you lose them all. But that's why I think it was news. I think news will be made on Saturday in Starkville. You know, if are they going
get throttled?
Are they going to get
the other two? The 2 wins were bad opponents,
right? And
if they win, look out.
Or I think even if they just play a good, tough football game, and,
right.
and you know they have a chance in the fourth quarter, that's good enough. I don't expect them to win, but I don't think what they did in the first 2 games would hold as much water if they go out and get their clock cleaned. You know, so that's it. And Missouri, next couple weeks will, because they had a schedule that laid out so well for them to, you know, be 6-0, 7-0 for sure, and just dropping that game. I mean, how you do the AP poll? If they'd won the first 2, maybe if they even won the first game, they would have been in the top 25. Now they probably got to win what? 5 more to crack the top 25?
For who?
Mizzou.
Oh, for Mizzou? Yeah, that knocked them way down there.
Will they be in the 40s now?
I've got them. No, see, I don't just crush a team.
I don't think they have any. I don't think they got any votes this week.
They didn't get any votes.
No, they didn't get any votes.
I know that.
Yeah. But I'll tell you.
There's only 12 or 14 teams.
I had them at AP 9, 8, 19. Missouri came in for me at 29.
Well, I think that you probably have them higher than most. I will say that.
I probably do. I had them high. I had them in my poll,
right.
And most people didn't have them in their poll.
Right. So, and I think they won't have the type of win that will provide a lot of excitement either. And that's what you're trying to do. And you know, I thought it was a little unfair, really, of Mike Kelly right at the start. It's 11 o'clock kick, and like the second drive, I'm listening to the game on the radio, and Kelly's going, and they come to the line before this smallish crowd at Faroe Field. I'm like, Mike, geez,
yeah,
let him come in anyway. And then he said it again, like another half hour later. The small crowd rises to its feet. I'm like, holy hat! They're telling you to say this? It was funny. I couldn't believe it.
Mike, shut up about the crowd.
Crowd not so good. We don't need this. Mike Kelly, Kelly Bryant comes to the line of scrimmage. Don't know why the hell they built that south stand, which is half empty right now.
In front of this barren wasteland that is Faroe Field.
We got to go.
8 people are here.
DannyClingsfield.com. Our thanks to Easton Roofing. It's Danny Unleashed each week.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.